Good morning. I hate to interrupt the fellowship. It's always a good time to get together and visit, but we'll get started and get our business done. Then we'll hang around and fellowship. So let's just start with a roll call and get that done first thing.
Representative Callaway.
Present in the room.
Representative Dixon.
Present in the room.
Representative Dossett.
Present in the room.
Representative Pfister.
Present in the room.
Representative Flood.
I'm present from my home office. Thank you, Chairman.
Representative Graham. Representative Imes.
Here in the room.
Representative Kim King.
Yes, ma'am, in the room.
Representative Cook.
Here in the room.
Representative Kulkarni.
Here in the room.
Representative McPherson.
Present in the room.
Representative
Pollock.
Pollock, yeah. I was getting there.
Here in the room.
Representative Pratt.
Here in the room.
Representative Rayburn.
Here in the room.
Representative Raymond.
I'm here in the annex.
Representative Reed.
Here in the room.
Representative Stevenson. Representative Tate.
Here in the room.
Representative Thomas.
Here in the room.
Representative Tipton.
Present in the room.
Representative Hart. And Chairman Heath.
Present in the room.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. And Representative Derek Graham just came in. Few housekeeping things. Let's go ahead and introduce our new member, Representative Pollock. And I'll let you, since this is your first time in our Ag Committee, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up here. And you'll need to turn your mic on.
I'm not sure you need my mic, but I'll go ahead and turn it on. I'll represent the District 51st. I'm filling some big shoes for Bam Carney. Served as, been in the insurance business for 20 years. Grew up on a farm. We raised hogs. Went to school, got married, and I'm excited to be here to serve in this Ag Committee. That's happy to be here, Chairman.
Thank you. We're happy to have you on our committee. Representative Kim King has an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I would like to make an introduction today. Someone that's no stranger to my colleagues or this committee, but my husband, Kerry King, waving, is here today in a new capacity. He is the newly inducted president of the Kentucky Cattlemen Association. So he will be looking forward to visiting all your counties and discussing the beef industry with the folks that you serve back home. And he is joined today with our executive director at the Kentucky Cattlemen's Association, Dave Maples. So please welcome them in his new capacity. Thank you.
Congratulations, Kerry, and good to have you today. And Dave, take care of a few other housekeeping things. We're still sticking to our 24-hour rule for committee subs. We thought we were going to need a committee sub on one of the bills today, and we managed to work around that. So we'll try to stick with that. And then if you've been in committees, you already know that if you want to be able to vote in this committee, you have to be either in your annex office or in the parking lot on the premises. If you're zooming in today from your district, you will not be eligible to vote. And then, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, there's no consent calendar this year, so even if we pass a bill unanimously, it still will be heard on the House floor. So if there's nothing else, we'll start with House Bill 271, and welcome to the table Representative Josh Callaway and Commissioner Quarles with the Department of Agriculture, and Keith Rogers with the Department of Agriculture. Good to have you guys today. And I'm sure you already know this, not your first rodeo. If you will, introduce yourself for the record, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Josh Callaway, I represent the 10th District.
Commissioner Ryan Quarles, KDA.
Keith Rogers, Chief of Staff, KDA.
Welcome and proceed, Josh.
Alrighty, thank you, sir. Appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning. Appreciate the Commissioner being able to be with us and our guests as well. And we bring before you this morning House Bill 271. And as most people are aware, especially in this room, the Kentucky State Fair has been a tradition in our state dating back to 1816. It's part of what we do as a tradition as Kentuckians on a yearly basis. And we have constantly been moving forward, especially in the last couple years, with trying to make things better. And basically what this bill does, it does a couple things. It does something with the agritourism program as well as some cleanup language with our Fair Council. And so, again, we appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk about this. Commissioner Quarles is going to go through some of this with us today and discuss kind of the specifics of what this bill does. We look forward to having your support.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members of the House Agriculture Committee. This bill does three things. It's a cleanup bill that aligns outdated laws or incoherent, incongruent language with modern needs. And so let's go through a high level real quick. Number one, we have a Fair Council. General Assembly generously funds a county fair grant that helps upgrades our county fairs around Kentucky, and we administer that through the Department of Agriculture. The current law gives a seat to the Kentucky Colt Racing Association. The problem is that organization does not exist anymore, and so we want to make sure that our equine industry has representation on this board when they're allocating these funds. And the cool thing is that our standardbred industry continues to grow, and they're starting to use county fairs to get more popular again. So we want to make sure that the horse industry has a voice on this county fair commission, so it gives them a voice. Number two, when it comes to agritourism, we have a full-time staffer that works on agritourism at KDA. It's amazing. We work in conjunction with our friends in the distillery industry, our vineyards. We have over 500 agritourism locations, and chances are you not have but one, but probably a couple in your district. This helps consolidate a board that was put into place back in 2002 that had over 20-some members. And despite many attempts of getting the board back together, we simply have trouble getting a quorum. So it kind of helps simplify the board, reduces the number of seats, and gets rid of these 9 regions that were originally set up 20 years ago, and it allows us to just simplify and get the work done to help promote agritourism across Kentucky. The third thing this does pertains to the State Board of Agriculture, which is an advisory board to the KDA. As you all know, we put the first female state veterinarian in Kentucky history in office just a couple of years ago, Dr. Katie Flynn. She's doing a phenomenal job. The board's role primarily pertains to animal livestock issues. However, a couple of years ago, the oversight of the Grain Indemnity Fund was also put underneath the State Board of Agriculture. And so we need to make sure that the current law reflects that the state veterinarian deals with animal welfare issues, animal livestock, and that the board, not the state vet, oversees other aspects of the State Board of Agriculture, such as making sure that the Grain Indemnity Fund reaches its financial threshold each year. So I'll stop right there. Those are the three things that this bill does. We try to consolidate this into one cleanup bill.
Motion on the bill.
Second.
We have a motion and second on the bill. Are there any questions? I'm not seeing any questions. If no questions, we'll call the roll.
Representative Callaway,
Yes.
Representative Dixon,
Yes.
Representative Dossett,
Yes.
Representative Pfister,
Yes.
Representative Flood, Representative Graham. I'm sorry. Representative Hart, Representative Imes,
Yes.
Representative Kim King,
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Cook,
Yes.
Representative Kulkarni,
Yes.
Representative McPherson,
Yes.
Representative Pollock,
Yes.
Representative Pratt,
Yes.
Representative Rayburn,
Yes.
Representative Raymond,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Representative Reed? Yes. Representative Stevenson?
Yes.
Representative Tate?
Yes.
Representative Thomas?
Aye.
Representative Tipton?
Yes.
And Chairman Heath.
Yes. Bill passes with favorable expression. Same two should pass on the House floor. Congratulations, gentlemen. It's a good way to start the session.
Thank you so much.
All right. Next on our agenda is our House Bill 308. We'll invite our guests up to the table, and I'll be joining them shortly. Our Vice Chair, Representative Mark Hart, is not able to be here this morning, and I would like to ask Representative Reed if he would step in and chair the meeting while I step down to help present House Bill 308.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, the Agriculture Committee is taking up House Bill 308. If you would please introduce yourself for the record, and you may continue.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity. Representative Richard Heath, District 2.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Make
Good
sure
morning,
y'all's
ladies and
mic's on.
gentlemen.
There you go.
Tony Toops, Advantage Capital. We've been here several times, was here in the interim joint committee, and I have my associate this morning with me.
Hi, Darian Harris with Advantage Capital.
Thank you. This is the fourth session that this bill has been introduced, and as mentioned, it was heard in the interim, so it's not entirely new to us. So this is known as the Rural Jobs Bill, and in a nutshell, the bill creates access to capital for small businesses that maybe could not get that capital somewhere else. So it affects individuals located in rural Kentucky, in rural counties. It also includes the FEMA disaster counties that the tornadoes just affected. And it also covers opportunity zones, which are some of those are in low-income urban areas. Even in Louisville has some opportunity zones. Mayfield has opportunity zones. They're scattered across the state. So many small businesses have great potential, but they need capital. And the bill will bring private capital incentivized in part by a state premium tax to a variety of businesses such as manufacturing, agribusiness, technology companies, and others. So the financing can be used for purchasing of new machinery, hiring and training new employees, or any way that a small business needs capital. The bill will also provide access to capital for small businesses in the FEMA counties, which we've already mentioned. And as you know, some of you that are from those counties have seen the pictures, there's a huge recovery effort, and there will need to be a large influx of capital to those small business owners that literally have to just pick up the pieces and start over. Hopefully most of them had insurance. We're finding out some did not have adequate insurance, and our concern is that nobody has enough insurance when the tornado just wipes the concrete slab clean and you have to start over with everything at the cost of replacing structures today and furniture and computers. All of that is much more expensive now than it was even 2 years ago. So our concern is there is not going to be enough insurance to get these people back up and running, and they will need additional capital. So today we have an individual. His name is Nat Needley, and he's with Commercial Specialty Trucks, a manufacturer of garbage trucks, cement mixers, located in Cynthiana. And he's going to tell the committee about his company's use of the a prior similar program, which allowed his company to grow significantly. And Nate is supposed to be joining us online. Are you there, Nate?
I am. Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you fine. So the floor is yours if you want to go ahead and tell your story.
Great. Thank you. Good morning, and thank you again for the opportunity to address the committee today. My name is Nate Nedley. I'm the CFO of Commercial Specialty Truck Holdings, also a resident of Scott County. We are a manufacturer of garbage trucks and concrete mixer trucks. Our factory is based in Cynthiana, which is in Harrison County. And first off, let me apologize by not being able to be there in person this morning. This is something that, from our standpoint, was very helpful in our history. And I think my company's story is an excellent case study of the benefits that programs like that and the proposed legislation have on companies, small businesses, and economic development. So thank you again for setting me up on Zoom to tell our turnaround story. In 2014, our company was created basically purchasing Easy Pack refuse hauling solutions and Continental mixer trucks from Navistar. At that time, there were 80 workers in the Cynthiana, Kentucky facility. And also at that time, all of those jobs were slated to be moved out of Kentucky and moved to Alabama by the prior owner, Navistar. Upon our purchase of the company, we saw the value in that manufacturing operation, the skill of its employees here in Kentucky, and subsequently negotiated a long-term lease and solidified the future of those 80 jobs, and as well as our company here in Harrison County. Shortly thereafter, we then moved the Continental mixer manufacturing business out of Houston, Texas, here to Cynthiana. At that point, what was needed, of course, since we made the commitment to stay, was to hire additional employees to not only continue our refuse business, but to take our mixer product line and begin the production of that product. We reached out at that point to the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development, as well as leaders at the state and the local level, and secured an incentive through the KBI program that ended up helping us add not only the initial jobs that were slated, but even 100 more jobs than were in our initial scope. That KBI was crucial in the early part of our company to helping us to grow a great labor force and to solidify the production of our newly acquired companies. Now, that said, the first 2 years for our company were very tough. We took two very broken companies that, as you can imagine, being owned by a large conglomerate, were basically neglected. We had to merge them together and at the same point ensure that we were getting the right output to continue the operations and to keep everybody employed. These challenges also created cash flow issues and, of course, made it hard to retain good talent, which was vital to us. By the end of 2015, this business had lost millions of dollars, and of course, we've learned many hard lessons, but our ownership, our management team, and our employees knew that we were on the verge of becoming something big, and we're continuing to persevere. So by the time we went into 2016, we partnered with Advantage Capital. We secured financing to help us grow our business. At that time, Advantage was the perfect partner for us to help us take the next step. They were instrumental in helping us to obtain fresh financing, which was made possible, of course, by the new market tax credit. This funding was put in place for companies like us who needed the financial support to continue growing. And at that time, we were not candidates for traditional lending. So it was either that sort of program or other equity type infusion. So this was critical to us. Without that support, the story would have ended at that point. This financing not only enabled us to fund working capital needs, but it helped us to upgrade the facility in Cynthiana, which yielded improved productivity, improved competitiveness, and also allowed us to invest in new and more productive equipment. With that financing, we were also able to grow our business while continuing to invest internally. And by 2019, we were actively looking externally for ways to continue our double-digit annual growth. At the end of that year, we actually closed on an acquisition of Kimball Mixer Company, which was out of Canton, Ohio. With that acquisition, we once again utilized financing through our partners, and we continue to use them as we have additional opportunities arise. It's important to note that at the point in which we bought that business, we made the conscious decision to move that entire business out of Ohio and to bring it into our Harrison County facility. Of course, with that came many more jobs, many more opportunities. And if you've been to Cynthiana lately, there's a lot of growth there that just 6, 12, 18 months ago were not there, such as fast food restaurants, additional small businesses, and of complete revitalization of the downtown area. Since our somewhat rocky start, we've tripled this business. We have line of sight to the next round of growth. we've steadily grown our market share, and we continue to think about not only more products and more opportunities, but continuing to do additional acquisitions. We proudly employ over 300 people at this company today. We've come a long way from facing the loss of 80 Kentucky jobs under prior ownership to nearly quadrupling our workforce, achieving consistent and profitable output. It's hard to believe in just these few years we have a company headquartered in Cynthiana, Kentucky, that is scheduled to put out 1,000 garbage trucks and concrete trucks this year, and also looking to consolidate more acquisitions into that same location. We are very proud of the journey and are grateful for the support that we have received from state and local officials, and of course, extremely grateful for the support of our lenders. Without their commitment and the availability of funding through the New Market Tax Credit Program, we may very well not exist in Harrison County, if at all. We've made a remarkable turnaround, and the New Market Tax Credit Program brought crucial capital to each expansion. I look forward to following the progress of this legislation and ultimately watching the positive impact that it will undoubtedly have here in Kentucky. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nate. That was very impressive. I think you did more for the explaining how the bill works and how important it is than anything we could have said. One of the things that I really honed in on what you said was traditional lending. You did not qualify for traditional lending, and that's where this bill has an impact, fills a niche, and that's the market that this is going after. We'll move on with Tony Toops and Darren Harris. They're here with Advantage Capital, and they will be applying, along with several others, to manage the program should this become law. So Mr. Harris is going to talk some about the specifics, and then Mr. Toops then will work with us to answer questions.
Yeah, well, thank you, members of the committee. Just really high level, House Bill 308. We found that rural businesses in Kentucky have really struggled to obtain the capital that they needed for job creation and for business growth. So the Kentucky Rural Jobs Act creates a $125 million fund targeted at those businesses that need it the most with no cost to the state until 2024. The state's portion of the fund is $75 million in premium tax credits, and this is capped annually at $15 million per year. That's again beginning in 2024. Businesses that are eligible to participate in the program are located within a county with a population of 50,000 or fewer, located within an opportunity zone, or located within a designated FEMA disaster area as a result of the recent tornado. During the application process, prospective fund managers must certify that they are a licensed rural business investment company with the USDA or a small business investment company with the SBA. Fund managers must also estimate the jobs that they plan on creating and retaining as a result of their investments, and they also must have a business plan with a revenue impact assessment that shows a positive return to the state 10 years after their application is submitted. Tax credits can be revoked or penalties can be ensued if fund managers don't invest 100% of their investment authority within 24 months, if they don't keep 100% of their investment authority invested for the 7-year period, which would end in 2029. And then they would also have to pay a penalty if they don't create the jobs or retain the amount of jobs that they had estimated during their application process. And there's also annual reporting requirements. I know my colleague and I, Tony Toops, we've spoken to several of you over the past couple of weeks, and we feel like we've answered your questions then, but if you have any questions, I welcome them now. Thank you.
Motion on the bill.
We have a motion on the bill and a second. We have a few questions. If Chair recognizes Representative Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Heath, I appreciate you bringing this legislation. I have long believed that small business is the engine that drives the economy of our state, and we need to do what we can. But I do have a few questions. On Section 9 of the bill relating to the tax credit, it lists an A through G on KRS statutes where it says where the credit may be claimed against the tax imposed by these different areas of statute. Could you help us with what specific areas are these referring to in these specific statutes?
What page are you on?
I'm on page 18 of the bill.
I went too far.
Bottom section 9. It lists A through G. It lists several different KRSs. And if you know, do you know specifically which tax credits these are, which taxes this credit would be going against?
And I do not know, but I'll give these gentlemen with me an opportunity to.
Sure.
I know the most of them. I know it includes some other ones, but it's mainly focused on the state premium tax credit.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, in my spare time, I can look these up.
I should have already done that. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I do have a follow-up question, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I served on the tax expenditure task force a few years ago in the interim, and one of the recommendations that we made was that on any future tax credit there be a sunset provision of 5 years. So just clarify me, is the maximum amount here $75 million, and is there a sunset provision in this statute?
Yes, sir. The $75 million is a one-time allocation from the state, and the program ends in 2029.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Representative Raymond.
Thank you. Especially thanks to Nate for all you're doing. I wanted to ask a few questions to better understand the finances of it, if you'll help me with it. So in conversation, I believe that I understood that the state will get back its $15 million per year regardless. Would you explain that to us?
Good morning, Representative Tony Toops. Yeah, so the application process requires that each fund manager applicant present a business plan which will include a job creation commitment. And that job creation commitment, those numbers will drive revenue to the general fund. So the state can only approve applications that show commitments to create jobs in excess of the amount of the cost of the credit, so that the general fund comes out whole or in excess of the actual amount of the use of the tax credits. On the back end, if those job commitment numbers are not met, there is a penalty, a formula, a financial formula to pay money back to the state, where potentially fund managers could end up with making $0 on this. Luckily, our experience has been in other states like Ohio and Georgia and Utah, and then specifically here in Kentucky, like Mr. Nedley talked about, the job creation there have far exceeded the numbers needed to make this a revenue positive program. So we are very confident, based on the last 20 years basically of state new markets and then state rural jobs programs, which are very similar to the new markets programs. They're just funneling the capital into rural areas as opposed to new markets, which focus exclusively on low-income communities, and most of those investments ended up in urban areas. Does that answer your question?
I'll keep reading.
Okay.
May I ask one follow-up, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Representative, one follow-up.
Thank you. Am I correct in reading the bill on page 6 that investors who partner with the state in this project need to have a record of investing $100 million?
Yes.
And so it seems like we're just benefiting some really large, successful investors like yourselves. And if that's the case, I don't understand why you all can't come and invest in rural Kentucky businesses that show a lot of promise on your own, and why this coupon is necessary for some very large, very wealthy investors.
Well, the fact of the matter is, data shows that rural businesses are drastically underserved by private capital. Most private capital, most venture capital, private equity focuses on the coast, like in California or the Boston area, North Carolina, Austin, Texas. To get into rural areas is extremely expensive, and we also have to be very patient. So getting into these areas and finding the good companies and then supporting them takes an incentive to make it all work. A lot of times these businesses are not able to repay us like they can a bank, or like they would be required with a bank. We have to come in and do principal and interest payments immediately. And sometimes we have to stay patient for several years before there is a turnaround in a revenue situation where it's justified to for the investment. So that's how these work. And this was like I said, it's modeled after the Federal New Markets Program, which was, get into history real quick, a strong bipartisan program that has used a combination of tax credit plus private capital to go into areas underserved by capital. It was passed by the U.S. Congress in 2000. The floor leader was Jim DeMint, of all people, from South Carolina. It was the last piece of legislation signed by President Clinton. And every administration since then, including the last administration, the Trump administration, extended the program for 5 years in concert with Congress. So it's got strong bipartisan credentials and support. And a number of states, like Kentucky, have enacted the earlier versions of it. I know my home state of Louisiana and Mississippi used it in the recovery from Hurricane Katrina. It was particularly effective and impactful, like in the city of New Orleans. And what we've learned from our experience up in Ohio, which has done 2 rounds, out in Utah, which has done 2 rounds of rural jobs, and Georgia, which has done 1 and is working on a second, is that there's a tremendous opportunity and need in rural America. And part of the reason for having the description of qualifications, as you mentioned at the beginning of your question, is to make sure you have qualified actors who come in and can quickly deploy the capital. So one of the key metrics of success here is getting 100% of the capital invested in qualified businesses in rural areas within 24 months. That takes a lot of work and a lot of know-how. In Georgia, for example, 5 funds from around the country have participated, from Iowa, Missouri, Louisiana, and elsewhere, have come in and worked very quickly. So there are, we believe, at least over 100 qualified firms in the United States that could participate. We find that firms like ourselves that have the actual appetite to come in and do it, set up shop, take on the obligation, and try to make this work. Like I said, in Ohio and in Georgia, we've had 5 firms in each of those states, and they've done exactly as the law required, with very good outcome and results. In fact, if I will, Darian, maybe you could talk about some of the success in Georgia. I think would be illustrative too.
Yeah. So one of our bigger, well, one of our heartwarming success stories out of Georgia is a company called Katie Bag. Katie Bag was it is a family-owned vino bag producer, and vino bags are the Vidalia onion bags. They also make cotton bags as well, and they had been trekking along for about 40 years, completely tapped out with the banks. The family business was about to go under. Through our Garja program, they were able to receive investment. They were able to create 100 new jobs, get the machinery that they needed desperately so that they continue to operate in tiny little Pearson, Georgia. And I would say those 100 jobs probably support about 4 of the surrounding counties. In Pearson County, 1 in 4 people live below the poverty line, and these jobs were extremely meaningful. Not only that, but Katie Bag Company is the only fully integrated vino bag producer in North America. All of their competition is in Taiwan and Vietnam, and it was extremely important for the company and for the state to keep those jobs here in America.
Thank you, Representative. Chair now recognizes Representative Kulkarni.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you all for presenting this bill. I had a question regarding, I guess, what would be a qualified applicant under this legislation. Is there any special consideration or protections for companies that exist right now in Kentucky that have struggled to get capital versus those that relocate either from another state or perhaps an international large agribusiness that opens an affiliate in Kentucky and is able to avail themselves of this credit?
The bill specifically doesn't have anything that safeguards Kentucky businesses that are already located here, but we've seen from our previous experience with our other programs that we tend to target businesses that are located within the state that are already tapped out with the banks. Very rarely, it seldomly does happen, but we do relocate businesses from other states. But this program would mainly be focusing on existing businesses in Kentucky.
Quick follow-up. I'd be interested if any of you can get me some data on the breakdown in other states where this has been enacted, as to that specific point. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Chair recognizes Representative Dossett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm proud to offer my support for this legislation. As a small business owner, as a rural small business owner, this will be another tool in the box for those rural small businesses. As the chairman mentioned earlier, in West Kentucky, where we have experienced the devastating effect of the tornadoes, I have spoken with business owners who do not believe their insurance is going to cover the total expense of replacing equipment that was damaged. So this will allow that, in particular, for businesses that may not have their borrowing capability from local lenders. They've already extended that. In the instance with this storm damage, this is an opportunity for those businesses, for us to make something even greater than what was there beforehand. As was mentioned, in these rural areas, myself particularly, what I've experienced, our local banks tend to be conservative rather than what it would be in our larger areas here within the state where our larger cities are. So this is an opportunity to give those small businesses a chance not only to expand to it, but as I said, to go for something greater than what even they were looking at putting in. So I'm happy to offer my support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. House Bill 308 has been properly moved and seconded. Discussion is now over. We should now proceed to vote. We have one more question. Representative Graham.
Question. I really just have a comment, and it was great talking with you all, and I support the program, as I told you when we talked about it, because it's important with small businesses in helping, particularly in the rural parts of the state, because if we lift up the rural parts, it helps us.
Representative Graham, if you can move your microphone a little closer. Thank you, sir.
I said, let me just go back again. I said I support it. I support the bill. I support the concept. And we need to help the rural communities, because if we can lift the rural communities up, we're lifting up all of Kentucky. The only problem that I have with this is that the bill was filed yesterday, Mr. Chairman, and earlier when we started the meeting, we talked about the process and how it would work. Because I've known about this bill for a while and I met with them yesterday, I'm supportive of the bill. I just don't support the process in which we are taking this bill today, which would have given many of us who are on this committee the ability to go through it detailed-wise before we make this vote. I made the commitment that I supported it, and I may pass on it in the committee because not of what the bill is about, but of the process by which we have done this particular piece of legislation, which is an important piece of legislation, probably one of the most important things that we will do in terms of helping those in the rural communities, especially those who have been impacted by the weather. So I wanted to state that before the vote was taken. Thank you so much.
And Mr. Chair, if I could follow up.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate your comments and agree in most part. This is the fourth year the bill has been filed, and we did hear it during the interim. Our goal was to have this filed before we left here on Thursday, and it just didn't happen. We already had everything in place to hear it today. We had these gentlemen scheduled to fly in, Tony's from Louisiana, so all these plans have to be made in advance. And then when this bill leaves this committee, assuming it passes this committee, then it will go to A&R, and it will have a second committee look. So this will not leave here and go directly to the floor. So that is one of the reasons I opted to go ahead and move on, even though it was short notice and very quick even for me. I was leaning towards putting it off another week, and the logistics just really pushed us towards getting this done today. I wanted to also say this is supported by our Kentucky Bankers Association, the Kentucky Farm Bureau, and by our own Kentucky Department of Agriculture and Commissioner Quarles. And my primary co-sponsor on the bill is Representative John Blatton, who's in the room. And I was going to ask if he would like to have any comments before we take the vote.
Representative Blanton, please introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you. Representative John Blanton from the 92nd District. I'll be very brief. I just want to say this. For those of y'all that were here in 2017 and 18 and 19 and 20, this is not a new piece. Representative Graham, you were supportive of it previously. We passed this out on the House floor with like 91 or 92 yes votes. Got some hang up over on the other side of the building. So for those that's been here, this isn't new, although there has been tweaking that's taken place over the years that I feel like it's made even stronger and better for our rural parts of Kentucky. So I urge each of your all support to help us in the rural areas. We're not looking for handouts. We're looking for a hand up. And this is one of those opportunities to give a hand up to make for better lives for those people throughout Kentucky and our rural areas that's seen a downturn in our coal economy. We've seen the tornadoes that's hit Western Kentucky, and even the pandemic in and of itself. We've lost jobs over it. So this is, as Representative Timpton said, this is a tool in our toolbox. And so with that, I thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. I'll allow one more question. Representative King, we need to get out here in about 2 minutes. So
Totally
one more question.
understand. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand and support the concept. Mine is just a quick functional question. If there's a small hardware store in an opportunity zone, a FEMA designated area, or a rural county, how will they know that this opportunity is available, and how will we let them know that the opportunity is available? Thank you.
Well, we do a lot of outreach to the businesses that we plan on investing in or potential investments. We have a proprietary software that we've created that allows us to identify businesses in Kentucky. So far, through the parameters of this program, we've identified 15,000 businesses that would be eligible for the program, not to say that they will all receive an investment. We do cold calls. We work with local chambers. And we do outreach to find the businesses, and we'll also, and just word of mouth really is how, cold calls, just traditional methods of finding businesses that need capital.
Thank you. We just need to make sure we message this and let people know about the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Discussion is now over. We should now proceed to vote. Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Callaway,
Yes.
Representative Dixon,
Yes.
Representative Dossett,
Yes.
Representative Pfister,
Yes, without reservation.
Representative Flood, Representative Graham.
May I explain my vote? I'm going to, because of my word, I'm going to vote yes, because I do support the bill, and being that it will go through A&R, there's still a factor there in terms of whether or not we should proceed. But I did give you my word, and so I'm going to vote yes with the comments that I made earlier about my reservation of the process. Thank you.
Representative Hart, Representative Imes,
Yes.
Representative Kim King.
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Cook,
Yes.
Representative Carney,
Yes.
Representative McPherson,
Yes.
Representative Pollock,
Yes.
Representative Pratt,
Yes.
Representative Rayburn,
Yes.
Representative Raymond.
The benefits look lopsided to me. I vote no.
Representative Reed,
Yes.
Representative Stevenson, Representative Tate, Representative Thomas,
Aye.
Representative Tipton,
Yes.
and Chairman Heath.
Yes.
The ayes have it. House Bill 308 passes committee. Same should be considered on the House floor. Is there a motion for adjournment? Committee is adjourned.
All right, thank you. Thank you, John. Good seeing you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
I apologize for being late. I thought I had on my calendar to start at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so.
You know when the A&R came? No. John, let me know. We kind of got Oh, yeah. I didn't realize he was asking. Branch manager.